My body has been possessed by someone. Chapter 4. It was my fault. From AudiNovel. Bang. After resting on the sofa and dozing off for a while, Kana opened her eyes. She felt as if she had heard something. Just thinking about it, bang. Another loud noise echoed. What are you doing without opening the door? Open it or I'll break it, shouted a middle-aged woman with a sharp voice. At the same time, knocks sounded on the door. Bang bang bang. 3 consecutive explosions. What are you doing right now? Perplexed, Kana looked at the door with a bewildered face. It was locked. I don't remember locking the door. Ah. It must have been Mary. I'm opening it now, shouted Kana as she quickly opened the door. Upon doing so, she was met with tall servants and a woman leading them. She is Countess Josephine. Can't you behave properly? Facing her was the real hostess of the mansion, Josephine, Countess of Ellister. She was Sylvian Valentino's stepmother and Kana's mother-in-law. Although not Sylvian's biological mother, she had become the motherly figure after Sylvian's mother's death when he was 10. Then, her father took Josephine as his new wife, maintaining the title of Countess of Ellister, one of the many titles held by the late Duke Valentino. But only the Countess of Ellister continued to behave like the mistress of the Valentino dukes. What are you doing now? Are you still not ready to greet me at this moment? Josephine burst into the room. After widening her fan, she looked at Kana disdainfully. Mary told me strange things. Beyond the door was Mary smiling cunningly. It seems she spilled everything like an old-school informant. Did you forget the rule that you have to come and see me every morning? It's already 1 p.m. now. You even forgot to greet me during lunch. No, I haven't forgotten, replied Kana. Every day at 7 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m., she had to go and greet Josephine 3 times a day. It was a silent threat to keep her from being free. However, Li Jua obeyed every day, thinking it would make her more endearing and earn affection. If she was even a minute late, she would have to endure all kinds of curses. Kana sarcastically remembered the hardships Jua had to go through in the past years. But I don't want to do that, because I can't turn back. I won't let myself be trampled upon again. Li Jua, you shouldn't have done that, she murmured to herself. She was planning to divorce anyway, so it would be great if the other party caused a commotion and kicked her out. Greeting you 3 times a day. If other ladies hear about it, they would be surprised. There weren't such old-fashioned etiquettes even in my mother's days, right? The astonishment was so excessive that it led to an uncomfortable silence. Kana, noticing their reactions, shrugged her shoulders ironically. The maid outside the door, the assistants, and even Josephine were left speechless. What did you just say? Asked Josephine in disbelief. Until the maid, Maria, came and cried and spoke, there was no hope. Kana, that stupid bastard was mowing the lawn. Are you an idiot obsessed with taking care of others? Thought Kana. At first, she thought Mary was lying or that Kana's mind was damaged. You're crazy, exclaimed Josephine. How dare you speak to me like this? She yelled, surveying the situation. The girl who acted as if she would pick up the food falling to the ground if she could be cute. It's just your mother's whims, but you're talking about family law. Aren't you ashamed of the long history of the Valentino family? Kana provocatively commented. An icy silence descended once again. However, the expected response soon returned. Who's there? Catch this bitch right now, ordered frustrated Josephine. The servants who were watching quickly grabbed Kana's arm. How dare you speak to the lady in this way? Today I'll make sure to correct your attitude. Come on, bring the stick, Mary shouted, then handed Josephine a thicker stick than the one Kana had used before. Hold her, Lift her skirt right now, ordered Josephine. Yes, ma'am, Mary quickly responded, running towards Kanna and grabbing her skirt. Though she pretended to be calm on the outside, inside, she was excited to accuse Kanna. How dare you lay a hand on me, the maid whom Madam cherishes. Look at the estate you're in now. Don't touch me, said Kanna firmly. She removed Mary's thick hands and lifted her skirt, showing a bright smile. I'll do it myself, she affirmed firmly. The response not only left Mary but also Josephine frozen in the face of Kanna's audacity. Go ahead, mother, said Kanna with a cold smile. Not only Mary but also Josephine's spine chilled at the presence of Kanna, a person she knew well. Are you shamelessly mocking yourself and provoking yourself? Do you think I'm joking? Fine. I'll discipline you myself until you realize your mistake, threatened Josephine. Discipline, discipline. Kanna remembered those words and burst into an innocent laugh. You're punishing your daughter-in-law with a stick. Again, it's a method befitting the face of a prestigious family. Even Duke Valentino will be very proud of his mother's teachings, Kanna commented sarcastically. Shut up. Whenever an adult is speaking, you answer cheekily, exclaimed Josephine before starting to whip Kanna. The pain exploded like lightning in an instant, and Kanna gritted her teeth. I promised myself. It hurt so much that a scream escaped for a moment, thought Kanna, as Josephine raised her arms once again to hit her. Whip. The blow sounded. With all her pride, Josephine exclaimed, the Addis family seems not to know even the basic rules of etiquette, right? That the young lady, who clearly lacks manners, is the daughter-in-law and brought into my home is a disgrace to this family. But Kanna simply gripped her skirt tightly, bit her lip, and endured. I won't scream. If I scream, Josephine will surely be satisfied. Until now, I had no intention of satisfying that woman who treated me like a beast, thought Kanna with determination. Whimper, whimper. Josephine began to pant. Time passed, and Josephine's arm grew tired from the effort. Meanwhile, Kanna's calves were completely swollen with blood. You still don't know what your fault is, said Josephine. I don't know, replied Kanna hoarsely. This venomous beast, thought Josephine frustrated. Josephine, like the other servants, snorted. Quote, at first, the face of Mary, who had been looking gleefully, turned white, and began to narrate. The flesh of her calves is completely covered in blood, and it's swollen like a radish, thought Kanna. This is madness. Obviously mad. How can a person change so overnight? Internally exclaimed Mary. Kanna's face was also soaked in cold sweat, but it seemed she had no intention of giving up. But Josephine's face was also determined. She handed the cane to the standing maid and gave the order, whip her. The order was given. Yes, ma'am, but the young lady's calves are all ready. The servant tried to object. Even if it's false, Kanna is an aristocrat of noble descent. Wouldn't they condemn her if the matter comes to light, being a woman and a servant? The maid reflected internally. In the end, the maid approached with a trembling and reluctant expression, moved the cane, and continued to whip her. My lady, but the young lady's calves, the maid began to say before being interrupted by Josephine. Whip her, Josephine ordered with determination. Yes, ma'am, but even if it's false, Kanna is an aristocrat of noble descent. Wouldn't they condemn me if the matter comes to light, being a woman and a servant? The maid tried to explain. You can't hear me. Do you want me to condemn you in her place? Josephine insisted. No, ma'am, but the maid tried to object. Do it, Kanna affirmed with determination. Yes, ma'am, but the young lady's calves, the servant said, hesitating. She was already covered in blood from the wounds. How could she strike her again? Faced with the maid indecision, Josephine fell silent. Despite her initial enthusiasm for the forceful blows, the maid was right. Kanna's calf was so damaged that there was no more room to strike. This should be enough to break your spirit, declared Josephine, staring fiercely into Kanna's face. Kanna weakly laughed, perhaps because she had endured by gritting her teeth. Her chin tingled, and her whole body was soaked in cold sweat. Although the sensation of heat emanating from her legs was painful as if she were burning, she didn't want to live this way. Do I have to bid farewell to my mother-in-law unconditionally? It's violence, a tacit threat to not to let her dare to dream of escaping freely. No, I don't want to do that, thought Kanna. Although she didn't know what had happened, she found herself back in her own world. She wanted to go back, but she couldn't. That's why she wanted to live properly. I'm being treated like a beast instead of being treated like a human being, so nothing will change if I give up here, nothing, she reflected. Right, it's my fault, Kanna accepted her guilt with a hoarse voice. Now she admits her mistake, thought Josephine with a triumphant smile. I shouldn't have done anything I didn't want to do from the beginning. It was my fault that I kept holding it in, replied Kanna. Hi. Want more? From AudiNovel. Subscribe for more.